Hi, I am SalahIssa from the University of Illinois. Welcome to Grain Safety Week. This is a week that reminds us safety is a shared responsibility where farmers, industry, researchers, and the government all work together to keep agricultural safe. Thank you for joining us for the kickoff. And let me start with a story on how different stakeholders can work together to improve the safety of our communities. It starts really in about 2020 when I'm just reading the newspaper and out pops up this story about a farmer named Guy Mills from Nebraska, where he was tackling an issue of his grain going bad. And unlike most people who would just jump into the grain bin to try to tackle it, he said, no, I need to handle this safely. And he ended up coming up with a solution of using compressed air and to successfully remove the grain. And I'm bringing here today Guy Mills from Mills Farms, Nebraska, to tell us his story. Guy?
Well, thank you very much. And I'd like to start out that really grain bin safety goes back to the old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And what I mean by that is that I see grain bin safety really goes back as a preventative measure if you can. And this goes back to the area of getting corn planted on time, because actually we are harvesting sunlight. They're matching the fertility, the use of fungicides, which keeps the corn plant green up until harvest, and then the harvest settings on the combine. That would go back to the deck plates on the corn head, keeping them so you don't shell corn in the row. And then one of the maybe the biggest problems that I've seen with farmers is when they have a loose chain on their clean grain elevator conveyor, and that would definitely crack the corn. And anytime you crack a kernel of corn, it invites what I would say moisture and temperature to come in, and then foliage will follow. Some of the things that we do on our farm, we like to clean the corn if all possible, put it into the bin, run our dryer at a lower setting so we don't have stress cracks in the corn, and then move the corn into the bins. If all possible, we used to air this corn, remove the peaks, and because the moisture will migrate to the top of the peak, and then you could pull those out maybe like by March or so as the temperature, the ambient temperature outside would change. And those are all the things that we can do that to keep that corn intact and keep it from spoiling.
Well, thank you very much, Guy. Tell us about what happened in 2019 that prompted that story.
Well, with all the things that we try to do right, it happened in 2019 here in Nebraska. We had a tremendous blizzard, and of course, we have a cattle operation too. And I had about 5 foot of snow into the bin that blew in. Very, very odd. You couldn't even get into the bin, literally. So what do we do? Well, we were worried about our cattle dying, so they were our first priority, and we knew we were going to have a mess. So we got the cattle saved, but later on, then we had definitely a mess of the corn. The corn started to spoil as we used a compressor there to break up the chunks. And we were able, and I want to make people understand this, we were able to get the corn out of the bin without entering the bin. And that's what this compressor done for us.
So that comes to me. So I went and said, wait a minute, we should investigate the safety for this. So I applied for a grant for USDA NIFA. We got funded. This is how government tends to support this. And we did our research. We researched the clumps of grain that go bad. What is their moisture content, the content of grain, the hardness. We've developed our own out of condition grain. And then we developed our own small experiment where we tested out the out of condition grain and tested it out. And we found that compressed air could work, but you have to be careful from the safety solutions as well. What really pointed this out is actually what Guy Mills mentioned earlier, and that is prevention is key. And what we found out is that bringing together industry and farmers together, there's a lot of different strategies that you could use to put in your bin in place and prepare for when your grain can go out of condition, because it will happen at some point of time. This involves outfitting your bin. It could be, for example, installing plug busters or actually getting robotics to help you manage your grain quality. In addition, in cases where you haven't prepared in advance, There's a lot of different solutions you can do that you can take care of the grain without going in, from as simple as turning the aeration fans, to using a compressed air as we had shown earlier, or basically inserting augers in different configurations to resolve this problem. Well, that's what we have for today. Thank you for participating in Grain Safety Week.